Hello.
Good timing.
Brilliant, Dale. That's
Oh,
absolutely
hang
fantastic.
on.
Well, it was short-lived. It was good while it was there. Listen, I won't keep you for long. I'm going to introduce you all to the panel. So, wonderful Francesca Cumani is MC and looking after everything, and we've got the fabulous Jane Mangan, and we've got Daryl Jacob, and later we're going to be joined by Paul Nicholls, and we're going to be joined by Donald McCain. So we've got a really, really blue-blooded Grand National preview to look ahead to. JM Finn, the wealth managers, not the gin company, which somebody said. JM Finn are so kind. They sponsor these lots of times, and we really thank them for their support, and we like doing these. So thank you very much for your continued support. The format is these guys are going to chat for half an hour or so, and then Paul and Donald are going to join. And then we'll wrap things up with a few questions at about 8:30, where I've got to go for dinner, which is why I'm dressed like this.
You're always off for dinner, so you are.
No, well, I used to
Do
cook
you
for my.
ever do a day's work, do you? Every time I speak
It's
to
a
you,
work
you're
dinner.
off for dinner.
It's a Grand National dinner, and I've got to go and give people money and lose it.
Does it always just circumstance on this day, does it?
Oh, here I am at home with my coffee cup, my statue.
Dinner for
And
one.
yeah, sadly, you're not wrong. And anyway, and just one little parish announcement is that our next gathering is actually in person and it's live and it's on Wednesday, May the 28th, which is Old Gold Racing Goes Racing at Cartmel on Whit Wednesday. So you'll see lots of stuff around that. Cheska, you're going to be there, aren't you?
I am. I think that the next live. What are we doing? I thought I was going to join a nice day at the races. What are we doing?
Yeah, no, this is at the races. Yeah, we're going to do a
Oh, okay.
panel. You're talking to lots of
Oh,
trainers, and yeah.
I thought I was there for
Okay,
a nice
but we'll talk.
time.
Yeah,
No, okay. It's work.
we're not talking about this anyway. This, and we've got lots of news because there might be people might have noticed another horse appear on the sort of radar, which may or may not be tied in with Carmel. Anyway, listen, no one wants to listen to me, so I'm going to disappear. I'm going to allow you guys to carry on, and I'll see you in 50 odd minutes or so. So have fun, guys.
Oh, wait.
Have a nice gin and tonic, Ed.
Wait. Are you doing the Q&A or am I doing the Q&A? I can't remember now.
No, Daisy's the voice that tells everyone what's going on has disappeared. I'll text you and I'll let you know.
Okay. So I'm trying to work out. Oh, you just. Well, I'm trying to work out. I need to do the Q&A before you reappear. But Daisy, I'm sure will let us know.
I'll send you. Have you got WhatsApp down below?
I've got it here.
Okay, I'll WhatsApp you.
Okay, great.
And some very funny jokes too to put you off. Okay.
No. Okay.
Jane Mangan in the background is absolutely bewildered by all of this.
I'm just amused. I'm entertained already.
How
Do I
are
have to
you, Jane?
take part? Can I not just watch?
Jane's a regular. She knows all about these old gold racing Zoom sessions.
Daryl, just because you're new to this profession now, we're old fogies at this.
Yeah, to be fair, I'm just like a big kid. I'm new. Everything that goes on, I'm just like a big kid. It's all new to me.
Well, we love it actually. We love your energy. You're always so kind of positive and upbeat and big smile on your face. But how's it going? Like I just doing my bit of last minute Googling and I was trying to remind myself when you start riding. It's December, right?
Yeah, the end of December at Leopardstown. Yeah, I was lucky enough to win a grade one on Impair and Pass, and I thought that was the right time to hang up the boots and give it to a much better jockey than myself and JJ Slevin. So he took over the reins, and look at it's been crazy. I've been so many people have been so kind to me and generous to me, and look at the timing was right. They always say as a professional athlete, you wake up one day and you'll just think enough is enough, and that was the time that I thought I'd achieved all I wanted to achieve.
And what have you been doing with yourself since?
Yeah, I've been very busy actually. It's great. Until after Aintree, I'm unemployed. But
Okay.
up until then with Cheltenham and Aintree, it's been great. Look at them. Obviously, there's huge buzz around Cheltenham and Aintree, and the jockey club have been very good to me. Sky Bet, obviously still doing an awful lot for Simon and Isaac, and I'm really enjoying doing my few shifts on racing TV as well. So look, between the lot of them, they're all keeping me fairly busy.
Until after Aintree. We need to get you
until after Aintree. Yeah, I'll be on the buildings, or I'll be driving a lorry or something like that, or a bus.
It's funny that, isn't it? Just because you're kind of deemed to have had your grounding or your career in either flat or national hunt, there's kind of a bit of a funny thing about crossing over when it comes to TV work. I mean, I know Jane does it all the time, but is it difficult for you to kind of keep that momentum going?
Yeah, I think it will be, but not really. Like it'd be nice to have a bit of downtime too. But look, I really enjoy doing the hosting as well. So lucky enough during the summertime, I do plenty of hosting and hospitality, and for that I'm very grateful of. And look, at that just keeps me going, keeps me out and about, and look, at I enjoy going racing. I enjoy seeing people. I enjoy seeing happy faces, and you know if you can go racing every day and see people smiling and joking and happy, but it's for me, it's the best feeling in the world.
Okay, and you'll have plenty of that this week at Aintree. Jane, how's your week looking?
Mine's much more relaxed. Daryl is as you said at the start of this conversation, he's got such energy. He's a way more sociable being than I. I won't speak for you, Francesca, but like, I don't know if I'd be cut out for all the crowds that you, Daryl, seem to just like come alive in. I like to like huddle behind my laptop and say a few words and then go back into my corner. My week this week isn't like Cheltenham. Cheltenham is a bit of a monster. I actually enjoy Aintree a little bit more. I'm not on TV. I have a personal connection to a horse, and the first day we'll get to that momentarily. I toyed with staying for the National, but I'm actually working at Fairyhouse at the weekend, so I'm not going to stay there for Friday. But it is almost as good racing wise as Cheltenham. Like, we're going to get to Lossiemouth versus Constitution Hill. We're going to get to the rematch of some of the novice chasers. And there's not really much narrative about it. The build-up isn't the same, but the racing is almost just as good.
Do you agree, Daryl? Why don't you spin us through like the highlight on each day of the 3-day meeting?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to Aintree again this year. I think some of the racing that we have at Aintree is incredible. I thought last year at Aintree was probably the best Aintree that we've had for many years. I thought it was very, very competitive. Like some of the English horses missed Cheltenham to target Aintree, and then some of the horses that went to Cheltenham came to Aintree, and some of say Willie Mullins' second string, for argument's sake, they all came over, and I just thought it was brilliant racing. I thought it was very, very competitive. I thought we had a lot of very, very close finishes, and I thought we had a plenty of quality on show. And if I think it'll be the same again this year. I'm really looking forward to it. Simon and Isaac have got plenty of horses coming over, and good horses as well. So, hopefully, please God, Simon and Isaac can have a really good meeting. We only had the two runners, sorry, at the Cheltenham Festival. We managed to bag a winner as well, so that was huge for us. And I think we've got a big spring campaign for a lot of our horses, and hopefully this week can kick off a really big spring for us.
Okay, right. We haven't got that long actually until Paul Nicholls and Donald McCain join us. So I want to spin through two main things. We need to have a preview of the Grand National itself this year. But I also want to find out your experience, Daryl, from riding in the Grand National. One win from how many rides? That was 2012, wasn't it? Neptune Collonges, 33-1 by the narrowest margin in the history of the race. Did you know you'd won at the time?
No, absolutely not. Look at me and Richie. Richie McLernan's one of my best friends in the weigh room, and look, it was so tight. You couldn't have you couldn't have told, and it was just a monstrous finish from my horse. He was so brave. He gave everything. Look, he was a quality horse. A lot of statistics was against him, but he gave me everything that day. And the last sort of 25 yards, 30 yards, I knew I was gaining on Richie, but I suppose he was praying that the line was going to come, and I was praying that the line wasn't going to come, because I knew at some point I was going to catch him. And lucky enough for Neptune, I've got a big nose, and I'm glad Neptune Collonges has got a big nose, because I needed that nose to get me in front, so I did.
How different is it, like, compared to riding in normal steeplechase races? Like, is it really that different? I mean, obviously it's a long one. There's loads of jumps and there's lots of other horses, but do you really notice it as you're going around?
Oh, I loved it, because the whole buzz about the whole meeting is just brilliant. I remember the first time I rode in the race I rode, Filson Run, he was 100 to 1, and I finished fourth on him. But before that, my first, and like obviously because I was quite late coming into the race, and so I was only 15 when I started riding a racehorse, and then I went to the Racing Apprentice Centre in Kildare, and they sent me out to the late Desi Hughes, and from there I met Kieran Kelly, the late Kieran Kelly, who took me under his wing. And my first experience of a Grand National, believe it or not, was when Papillon won it. Papillon was obviously trained by Ted Walsh, ridden by Ruby. Ruby and Kieran Kelly were very good friends. Des Hughes and Ted Walsh were very, very good friends. And he was trained on the Curragh. And obviously for me, that was the excitement, the build up to training Papillon for the Grand National, going to Aintree and watching him and following him. And I just remember the celebrations that we had in Kildare that night, and probably for about 2 weeks afterwards. It was amazing. It was a huge buzz and a huge thrill, and that was a one race that really, for me, I never wanted to be champion jockey. From that moment, that was the race that I wanted to be involved in. That was the race that when I went out there to be a jockey, and I put my heart and soul in it, that was the race that I wanted to be involved in, and that was the race I wanted to try and win. So for me to win that race, from my sort of first memory of racing, was, it's so special.
But as you're going round, do you think to yourself, okay, right, we've got Beecher's Brook coming up next, we've got the Chair coming up next, like what's the sense of anticipation?
Yeah, you're obviously thinking ahead a little bit, but to be fair, you have to take every fence as it comes, because a lot can happen in the Grand National. Horses can fall in front of you, they can fall beside you, you can miss a fence, there's so much things going on, and the problem is your brain is in overdrive, because you do so much studying leading up to the Grand National, because you study every single horse in the race, and there's horses that you want to follow, the horses that you don't want to follow. There's, horses can jump left, horses can jump right, and you want to be in the right position, but you want to have your horses in the right rhythm. There's so much going on in your head and what you're thinking about in the Grand National. You kind of take every fence. Well, my approach to it, I took every fence as it came.
I don't know how you process that level of information all at the same time with that many horses around.
A bit like what you and Jane do whenever you talk about horses in the parade ring and before and after. I wouldn't have a Scooby about any of that. So,
well, one thing we know for sure, you can talk. So that's great. I'm gonna let Jane get a word in now. Jane, what do you make of this year's field for the Grand National?
Yeah, look, the National is a different race to what where a lot of us are used to. So if somebody's going into this year's race thinking about statistics, you mentioned Neptune Clange was 11-year-old, Pinot de Rey and Aurora's Encore. They had 3 consecutive years 11-year-olds won the race. But I think last year proved with Aya Maximus, I think he did a finishing speed of 110%. So as soon as the jumping was over, it's like Aya Maximus took a breath of relief and just took off. He's raised 167 this year. If he was to do it this year, it would be, I think, a performance that none of us have ever seen at Aintree. So is it going to become a race of just pure class? It's very, very possible. Now, there's some young horses in here that I really like Intense Raffles, that Daryl will know more about than I, and Iroko for JP McManus. And actually, interestingly enough, the pair of them met in Auteuil when they were 3, and they finished first and second. Now, it's a bit of a turning of the guard as they come back here as 7-year-olds. Ireland did very well at Cheltenham. That's well publicised. I think we're going to have 18 of the 34 runners potentially at this stage. 5 of them are going to be JP McManus horses, but crucially 9 of the top 10 rated horses are Irish. So that's where the real quality is going to come from. And it isn't a whitewash of Gordon Elliott or Willie Mullins. I think Willie's probably going to end up with 6 in it. I Maximus obviously being the top. I presume Paul Tennant's going to ride him. Meeting of the Waters, who I thought didn't stay in the race last year. Nick Rocket, who won the Bobby Joe, which is a very good trial for the race, and it's well publicised. Jonathan Burke got the ride, and Manila Cocooner after leading Paul Nicholls down in that race as well. So they're the more obvious horses. Hewick would be a great story. Is it possible? He's such a small horse. I didn't think Tiger Roll could do it given his stature, and I was wrong. Stumptown, they're going to put headgear on him. Vanillier was second in the race before. Percival Legalwa, I think, ticks a lot of boxes. But if you're JP McManus, I think you're kind of smitten. You have a lot of angles covered. It's not the race it was. It's not as slow, and it, used to, sometimes you had a chance if you were 100 to 1. Mon Mome had a chance. I don't think Mon Mome would even get into the race this year. So it's, I think the floor rating is going to be 145. We're all enjoying the sunshine. I know they're throwing out buckets of water for the last 2 weeks, but it's going to be a game. I think it's going to be a race of class. I wouldn't be surprised if one of the higher weights were managing to win it.
Yeah, they say that's the change more recently, isn't it? That the classy horses come to the fore, especially like you say on the firmer conditions. And Daryl, only 16 stables represented in the top 34 entries at the moment. There's been quite a lot of commentary on the fact that it's become more for the big stables, and you get less of the kind of battlers being in there, smaller names with the more kind of romantic stories. Is that an issue from your point of view?
Look, everyone loves the story for the Grand National. That's what the Grand National is all about, isn't it? It's about stories, and I agree. I totally agree with Jane, as in the fact that the race has changed with health and safety and the aspects of it. The fences are different. Look, me personally, I'd love it if it went back to the olden days and when they were what the fences were. Unfortunately, that's not the case now. But it is. I believe it's a race for the class horses, and the class horses will come to the fore. I think you need to be backing horses that are potentially in the first to 5 or 6 in the betting, because they're the horses that are going to find it easier to. They'll travel well. The races always run at a good gallop, and they're the ones that can travel well with a bit of class. And the horses that haven't quite got the class, that maybe had the jumping or the speed, they're the ones that I think are going to find themselves in out of position from pretty early doors. So I think you do need a horse that jumps low, jumps quick, and stays very well as well.
Jane, how good are your memories from the day your dad trained the winner of the Grand National, Monty's Pass, in 2003? You were what, 9 at the time?
Yeah, I think it was 8 or 9. Yeah, I wasn't brought. I watched it with my grandparents, and obviously when you're that young, you don't realize it was a big deal. But my granddad wasn't a big, he wasn't a character that got animated about anything, and he got a bit animated, and I didn't see my parents for the next 2 weeks, so I knew there was something going on. And yeah, that was a romantic story. Like, that was a horse who failed a vet. That's why he stayed with my parents, who were traditionally traders, and he was owned by a syndicate. And like, it was, how many horses had we? Probably at the time, maybe 25 in training. Now we're going back on Thursday with a grade 1 runner. We have 9 horses in training. Like, those stories are easy for you and I to sell to the public. It's not an easy sell when somebody has 250 horses in training and they paid $500,000 for them. Do you know what I mean? But those are the kind of things we're kind of hoping that Hewitt might do it. And we're kind of hoping that, I don't know, like Beauport, for the same connections that had, like 30 years ago, the colours of Beauport won with a horse that I can't think of the name of. Anyway, I'll think of it by the end of the podcast.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, it's a different time. We're in different times, and look, that's a whole different separate conversation. But what I will say is, Aintree do always a fantastic job in terms of the conditions. It's interesting that Daryl says you want a horse that jumps low and quick now for the national. Like, think about that. A horse that jumps low and quick for the Aintree Grand National. That'll tell you how much it's changed. You need a horse. If you go over and you clear the evergreens, you're actually going to lose your position, and that used to be the winning of the race, going over the evergreens. But yeah, there's any number of grade 1s. I actually think the UK have a great chance of winning it. I wonder, will it play any bit of a chance with the Paul Nicholls play for the championship? Harry Skelton happens to be riding for Paul Nicholls in the championship. That's kind of funny, with Dan Skelton hoping to win his first championship. It's the only jumps race on the calendar that's worth over £1 million. It's a special race for a reason.
Yeah, and potentially, I mean, we're close to it, and so we think, well, what are the stories and how do we sell it, etc. But hopefully, it still kind of sells itself. It is the race that people stop and watch, even if they don't watch any other horse racing throughout the year. And I love the tradition of the sweepstake. You cut it out from the newspaper, put it on in a hat. Everyone kind of gets involved, and it does tend to kind of somehow throw up a good story. The years I did it for ITV.
Corbier.
Corbier. Someone texted
1983.
83 is the year I was born.
I was just going to say that's the year I was born, so I definitely wouldn't remember that one.
Oh golly. Okay, but hang on, you just said the Irish have got massive representation, yet you think the English have got a great chance?
Yeah, you have a great chance. Iroko has been laid out for the race. Like, let's be honest, didn't he catch everybody's eye at Cheltenham on New Year's Day? I think Can Do Kid is a great chance. Harald Gold Cup winner. Beauport has a great chance. I know much has been made about Mr. Vango. He's number 40. He's probably not going to get in, but we'd be talking to Mr. McCain a little bit later on, and he's teaming up with the same breeder who provided his family with Amberley House. They also have bred Manila Drama. So there'll be a nice little cohesive tie-in there.
And Donald McCain joins us on the line. I think we're going to still wait for Paul Nicholls, so we might just carry on our little chat before we get those guys involved. Nice to see you, Donald, by the way. We'll bring you in a second.
Okay, you're looking James, fresh, Donald. You're looking fresh.
We appreciate the punctuality. We love a punctual person.
Yes. Yeah, we won't highlight the fact that Daryl took a little while to work out the old Zoom.
Listen. I've always said, me and computers, we just don't go together. All I've done for 24 years is gallop horses around the field. I've never had to work a computer ever in my life before until now. And I'm still working now.
Do you know, you surely must use it for like a bit of form study and watching replays and all sorts.
It's me and technology. And Jessica, we just don't go
all
together.
In his head, Francesca, all in his head.
Yeah, all in his head, way better than us. He just remembers it all, and it's right there at his fingertips. So we've had Jane's fancies. What about you, Daryl?
Look, I can't wait to see Intense Raffles run in the race. I actually seen Iroko. I done a bit for the Jockey Club yesterday, up at Aintree, and I actually went down to Greenhalls and I seen Iroko, and I went up to Aintree afterwards with a load of children, and we had a morning with them around Aintree. And first of all, I'll have to say Dan Cooper, he's done a fantastic job with the ground. The ground looks absolutely beautiful up there. It's on the slow side. I think it'll ride on the first day. I think it'll ride. It definitely will ride on the slow side of good to soft. So I think he's done a great job with the ground. I thought Iroko looked absolutely unbelievable. He looked trained for the minute, trained to run for the race of his life the other day. They schooled him yesterday morning as well, and he jumped very well by all regards. And so I'm looking forward to seeing them coming back together and racing against him. But Intense Raffles, again, since he won the Irish National with JJ Slevin last year, this was his main aim. We missed Punchestown for the Grade 1 novice last year because we wanted to keep his handicap mark. We started him a couple of times over hurdles this year at Navan, and he, if I'm being honest with you, he underperformed. I was slightly disappointed with him on his boat runs, especially his last run over hurdles. But he came really back to himself in the Bobby Joe Chase, and with Nick Rocket, who won the Toyestas at Gore, and we were giving him £3, and he's receiving £12 from him. So, and I was over there last week with him doing a bit of filming, and he looks really, really well, Intense Raffles. So I can't wait to see him run. I've been hugely excited by him since the very first day I rode him nearly a year and a half ago. I always thought, in my eyes, he was the closest thing I felt to Neptune Cologne, who I won a Grand National on. So I'm really excited, and I'm buzzing for Saturday for him.
So just in a word, if you were riding this as Grand National, you'd want to be on?
Oh, there's no doubt about it, Intense Raffles.
Okay, good. I'm liking seeing all the comments coming up in the chat, and we'll collate some of the best questions to put to everybody a bit later on. And it's great to welcome in Paul Nicholls and Donald McCain. Thank you everybody for joining us. Paul, we were just going down memory lane with Daryl about the win in 2012 with Neptune Cologne. What's your memories from the day?
It was just a fantastic day. You never forget days like that. Obviously, it was a bit fraught because it was a photo finish. But I remember Ruby walked out of the weighing room and said to me, "What are you worried about? You won." Then they announced, I should never forget that. And the winner is number 4, Neptune Collonges. And then it was just a fantastic day.
And aside from the fact that it's a handicap, what makes the Grand Nationals so difficult to win?
Well, there's lots of factors, isn't it? You know, big field class horses. It's 4.25 miles. You know, it's just a hard race to win. It took me long enough to try, but it's just ironic that the best horse I ever ran in the race was the winner. It just shows you need a bit of class and a class jockey, of course.
I was just going to say, Francesca, that's about the only day he didn't give me a bollock whenever I wrote for him.
It was probably one of the only days he was awake.
Well, yes, exactly. Well done.
Love you too.
Good plug to the jockey there. Well done. And you haven't had a runner since 2021, is that right, Paul?
Yeah, I think that's right. But, you know, I've learned over the years, unless you've got the right horses, it's absolutely pointless just turning up for the sake of it. And just happens this year, we got, 5 horses that are at the moment going to run that, are proper national horses as far as I see it. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
And how are we going with jockey bookings? Because Bryony Frost was going to come and ride one of them and is now not coming. And you had booked another jockey who's now not riding. Just talk us through.
Well, just a bit of a nightmare, really. I mean, obviously, I'd like to get things sorted pretty well in advance. We got the 4 jockeys that were riding in those, and I just thought to myself, well, Stay Away Faye, when Bryony was here, she used to get on really well with him. She rode him the best part of 2 years, knew him well, and I just rang her and said, "Do you fancy riding the National, ride Stay Away Faye?" She said, "Yeah, I'd love to." So just make sure you're available, one thing or another. It's a month away. And she said, "Yeah, fine, that's okay, I can ride him." And then 3 days ago, or yesterday, I got a text saying that she's got commitments, she's going to stay in France. So that was the end of that. Then I rang Johnny Burkap, who had originally been in line to ride Braveman's Game, and the owner wanted James Reevely. So I texted him and said, "Are you still free in the National?" He said, "Yeah, I am." I said, "Would you like to ride Stay Away Faye if I can sort it?" He said, "I'd love to." Then I cleared it with the owners and got it sorted. And he said, "Yeah, I'd definitely ride it. I'll be down to school him on Wednesday morning." So that's why I said to the media that it was confirmed. And then 6 o'clock at night, his agent rang up and said he wasn't riding it. So that's where we are. And Paul O'Brien's a good jockey. I've watched him ride a lot for Harry. He's a horseman. He's available. So he's going to come and have a sit on him tomorrow morning. He rides him.
Did you send Daryl Jacob a message asking if he could come out of retirement?
Well, I was waiting for his, to be honest with you. I thought actually this morning's April Fool's Day would have been a good one to have done.
Do you know what? I still actually have my license. You never know, Paul. You never know.
Yeah, exactly.
Could you do the weight? You haven't.
Of course you would.
Actually, my weight's not too bad. Actually, I'm only actually 11.4, 11.5. So I've managed to hold on to it. Not too bad considering.
Yeah, I understand it's difficult for Bryony because she's got commitments with Double Green, and that's the way it is. And she was going to ride Brave Kingdom on Friday. He's not running. But for Johnny really to say yes, he was definitely riding it, and I let the owners know, and we'd had it all planned. It was a bit disappointing, but you just got to find someone who's available. And Paul O'Brien's a great jockey. Darryl will probably agree. It's nice to give people like that a chance. And the other 4 have all got the jockeys that were organised. And we're looking forward to it. They are as well.
Did you ride in the race as a jockey, Paul?
I did. I rode twice in the race for Josh Gifford. I rode a horse called Roman Bistro, who led for a circuit and then pulled up. And I rode a horse called Another Duke for Des Lynham, actually. And I can remember him. He was quite keen. He was a Josh Gifford horse. And I thought I'd follow Corbière, who'd won the year before. And Corbière fell about 2 from Beeches on the first circuit. So I ended up getting left in front, going down the Beeches, like being run away with, thinking, "Oh my God, here we go." So I thought, well, if we're going to go out here, let's jump on the inside because there won't be too many follow me. And he absolutely hurdled Beeches, jumped it well, landed running, and come to the very next fence of Naven, which is the smallest fence on the course, and went upside down.
Oh, no.
And those were my only 2 goes in the National.
Oh, I've got to say, very brave, all of you. Very, very brave. Donald, sorry, I've kind of left you sat there quietly. Take us back to 2011 when you won the Grand National with Bala Briggs.
It was all pretty. It sounds cocky. It was all pretty simple, to be honest. we kind of planned it for 2 years.
Okay.
And the job never really goes that straightforward, as everybody knows. But the whole thing went swimmingly. He won the Kim Muir. He got a good rating. He went back novice hurdling. He won his novice hurdles. He had a run round in the Premier Chase at Kelso to get him ready, and he went there. The only way it went pear shaped, to be honest, was we were supposed to ride him halfway, and after he jumped 2 or 3, I think he was in front and made just about all for the rest of the race.
Really, that's not unusual.
Wonderful old horse, yeah.
So that was the time you trained the winner yourself. But how about your memories from the 70s when your dad won it 3 times with Red Rum? You were quite young at the time, weren't you?
I'm not as old as I look, Francesca. No. The last year he ran was the only one. 77. I was 6 years old, so I just remember watching it in my grandmother's house. And the rest of the time, to be honest, was seeing him coming home, and all the streets were closed, and there's people on the roofs and on top of the bus stops and all that sort of stuff coming down the street, and then growing up with Red Rum in retirement, to be honest, and all the things he did, more than him actually racing.
Well, actually, just remind us, because that's going back a fair way for me and maybe some of our younger listeners. What did he do after?
Well, he was always parading, opening and showing up at all sorts of things, charities, an awful lot of the time, then bookmakers and so on. He turned on Blackpool Lights. I think he actually won Sports Personality of the Year, but he wouldn't give it to an animal.
Amazing.
And so on, and went up in a lift into the studio in the BBC and that sort of stuff. So he was busier in retirement than he ever was racing, and he had a lot of racing. But he thrived on it and loved every minute of it. Otherwise, Dad wouldn't have done it, you know.
Well, what I hadn't realised until I went to my first Grand National, we actually stayed in a hotel in Southport, and we're getting the bus into Aintree, and that someone pointed out literally where he was trained and the beach where he was trained, and that completely blew my mind. I'd obviously read about it or heard about it, but I hadn't physically kind of seen it. But it really was a kind of an amazing story, because he had all sorts of bone issues, didn't he? Which is why he had to be trained on the beach, and it was a phenomenal tale.
Well, it was. He didn't have to. That's the only facilities Dad had. We had no grass. We even have to use to box them to school them into a few miles out of town and that sort of stuff. But yeah, that he used to. It wasn't just a case of galloping on the beach. He'd go and harrow a 1.5 mile strip on the beach every morning before first lot. Fall out with people if they park the cars on there. But it was the actual going to and coming from the beach that was the most obscure thing. I mean, stood at level crossings, double-decker buses, parked cars, loose horses in people's gardens, all that sort of stuff. It all went on, but that was the only facilities they had.
Yeah, it's amazing. And wasn't it, he was driving taxis to help make ends meet, and that's how he met the owner of Red Rum initially.
Yeah, Mum and Dad were taxi drivers, yeah. She tells me she was a better one than him. But that's how it all started, yeah.
And has it what's it been like kind of growing up as Ginger McCain's son with that massive history?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, everyone knows what he was like. You know, it'd make you cringe sometimes, but it was something to be very proud of as well. I mean, when you think now and you're training racehorses, and obviously Paul's had Cato Stars and all those sort of things, but to actually turn up for 5 Grand Nationals with a horse like him in those days when the race was the race it was and so on, I can't quite understand the pressure that he would have been under. And he was going back for a 6th time as well, wasn't he? But was withdrawn the night before.
How come?
He was lame. Yeah, okay. I mean, the problem finally caught up with him. The vet said, you might get away with it, but there's a chance you might not. And that was the decision made. And I think he was favourite again.
How do you think he would have fared in a Grand National these days?
Oh, well, it's a totally different race, isn't it? You can't describe it. I actually stumbled across one of his old Grand Nationals the other night on YouTube, and I was sat watching it, and obviously it's the races you grew up watching, and it's so far removed from what it ever was then. It's just, there is no comparison at all. There is no. I mean, I know everyone says it's a higher class race now, but there was always good horses ran in it. I think the second year he won, he gave £1 to a dual Gold Cup winner. I think he went up £23 from the year before for winning it, and so on. And that kind of thing's unheard of now. But it's so different. He was a very good racehorse. He'd beaten the Short Head and the Hennessy with 12 stone and so on, but it's just a completely different race now.
And Donald, how's your week looking this week? Richmond Lake won't get into the Grand National, will he? He's got a couple of other entries.
No, he'll probably win on Saturday in the handicap chase. Manila Drama will run in the Topham and could run very well because he likes Aintree in the spring. If he takes to it, everyone knows he's a bit wild, but if he takes the place, he could run really well. 2 or 3 runners on Thursday and so on. So we're turning up. We'll let the people know we're still alive.
Quite right, quite right. By the way, Jane, Daryl, Paul, everyone chip in with questions if you've got anything to ask Donald or Paul. How about?
Well, I might chip in there, Francesca, if that's okay, because the timer's ticking down, and I'm conscious that there's so many good races at the festival, and Paul Nicholls has a lot of good horses to run. Some of them that had actually been in action at the Cheltenham Festival, like Caldwell Potter, but you've Stage Star declared. You have any number of good horses. So for the people listening in, aside from the National, what should they follow?
Well, the first day we're running 3. Rabot runs in the novice chase, 2.5 miles. But yeah, it looks a hot-looking race. He's been consistent. He won the Pendle at Kempton the other day, but needs to raise his game a little bit. But he's sort of like the game. He'll love the ground. Stage Star is an interesting one that he ran very well in the Cotswold chase, first time up in Trip. Kept him fresh purposely, and he will love the ground. It's a hot-looking race, but I can see him running a big race. And Sam Bruce, the other one we run in the Red Run, he won the race last year off the same mark. He's now back to. He'll like the ground. Got a nice racing weight. So, a couple of nice chances on the first day anyway.
And Caldwell Potter bounced out at Cheltenham well?
Yeah, he appears to be okay. As you know, he's not well documented. He's not the easiest to train, but he's come out of it well. Freddie Ginger rides him every day. He worked him this morning and was very pleased with him. He scored well yesterday. I mean, he bounced off that better ground at Cheltenham. We absolutely loved it. Pointed his toe, and everyone had said beforehand he wants bottomless ground, but I think that's a fact. That's the only time we ever run was in bottomless ground. He enjoyed that. I just hope it doesn't dry out too much for him, But we don't know. He might just be liking better ground.
Paul, while we're running through, oh, sorry, carry on.
No, that's just. I'm just saying the Mile May. That's a good vote of confidence for him, because everybody's talking about handstands, but they're forgetting that's a good horse.
And I think he'll be better over 3 miles as well. He seemed to stay on quite nicely. I think 2.5 Aintree probably been sharp enough for him.
Paul, while we're running through your horses, can you give us an update on the Old Gold horses?
We're still looking for horse that ran yesterday, Wincanton. He was a bit disappointing, to be honest with you. He's got to raise his game. Roadshow, that was. The filly Dancing on the Edge. She is due to have an entry in the next couple of weeks. I might even enter at Newton Abbott or someone next week. She's ready to have a run. I was going to give her a run over hurdles she always benefits from run, and then go novice chasing during the summer. So she's probably a couple of weeks off a run. And Paddy the Pole, he's doing plenty of work, takes plenty. Couple of 3 weeks' time, he'll be ready as well. For all of those who are going to have a summer campaign, I might stick Roadshow in again at Taunton next week. A quick run. I think we need 3 runs to get a handicap mark, and then see if we can find a little handicap somewhere.
Okay. And Donald, how's Sovereign Star doing?
He's good, actually, yeah, which is a bonus. He ran a nice race at Bangor. It's low-grade stuff, but it's been a long old road back with him since the fracture and so on. But he's fine. He jumped like a buck. He wants a good bit further than 2 miles. And we're definitely going to have to keep going with him, because he's had no career yet, to be honest. So the main thing is he's in one piece.
Good. We should really touch on the other races during the week. Jane, what are the other big highlights for you?
Yeah, well, we have decks for the first day, so we may as well start with the main race. If everybody wanted to see Lossiemouth versus Constitution Hill at Cheltenham, well, they're getting it at Aintree, and nobody's talking about it, really. 2.5 miles, I think, is the mare's optimum trip. He has to come back off the back of a hard fall. I think it's a great match. Woodoo thrown in there off the Martin Pipe. They probably have nothing to lose. She's only a 5-year-old. She's a good mare, but to me, it does look like a match race. Paul mentioned the Stage Star Bowl. The 3 mile grade 1 is a strong race. I hope we're giving him something to think about with Spallan's Tower. I know the Skeltons have skipped Cheltenham the same as ourselves to come here fresh with grade awning. Embassy Gardens is a little bit of a forgotten horse, because he ran a poor enough race in the Irish Gold Cup, but he won well at Tremor on New Year's Day. And a Hoy Senior, that enigma that is a Hoy Senior. You don't want to be behind him. You don't want to be outside him. You can't be in front of him. He's just a nightmare. I'll be very interested to see how Patrick Wads gets on with him. So yeah, I personally, I think if Blanstower runs to his John Durkin form, where he was second to Factifile, ahead of Gallopin de Champs faster slow, he'd be very hard to beat. The juvenile, disappointed to see Lulamba not declared today. I'm sure the Skeltons didn't mind one bit when they saw Liv Conti was now shot to the top of the market. But before the declarations for the Fred Winter at Cheltenham, I was tipping Naturally Nimble for all of the panels that I did. And then Joseph O'Brien didn't declare him. He ran Put Your Hands Together and he won it with Put Your Hands Together. But Naturally Nimble is in there. I think he's quite a good horse. And he's by too darn hot, so he won't mind that ground. And the first race is the Manifesto, the Novice Chase. Daryl will talk to us about his, I'm sure, very proud of Ampere Pass. Not surprised to see cheek pieces on him for the first time, given he didn't do a tap at Leopardstown the last day. I think he gave himself an easy ride around. Crow Park is the horse they all have to beat there. He's run in the Drinmore where he beat Firefox and Heartwood. Heartwood ran a very good race at Cheltenham. That's a standout piece of form for me. That's just the first day. Also in the bumper, if anybody wants a little nibble in the bumper, we all love a nibble in the bumper. Paddy Toomey is sending one across. Paddy Toomey's exclusively a flat string, but he happens to have an Order of St. George filly in training called Sholin, and he's bringing her across with Billy Lee. A little bit of a flat flavour there in the bumper. She'll be very hard to beat.
So wait, that was day one?
That's just day one, yeah. I don't want to take all.
Who wants to take over for day two? Daryl, highlights for day two?
Actually, look, we've got the second day. What do we have? El Fabiolo, I think, runs. I think he runs into 2.5. Is that the second day? Yeah, the Melling Chase against John Bon. Obviously, he beat John Bon a couple of years ago. His obviously season or his campaign lately hasn't gone according to plan. He got beaten on his first run for quite a long time behind the 50-1 shot the last time. I'm interested to see. I'm looking forward to seeing him coming back because it was unfortunate that he got a fall at Leopardstown that day because with his run that day, we were going to decide whether he wanted to go to, champion down to Champion Chase or go 2.5 miles. Obviously, he fell. We didn't know an awful lot of him. Then he got beaten the last time needing to run. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing how he gets on the Friday. And then also we have James de Burley and Blue Lord. Both of them are running in the top of him. James de Burley was second in the last year. Looked like the winner the whole way until literally 100 yards from the line, and then he started to curl up. So he's gone back there. His season probably hasn't gone according to plan this year, but this has always been his game plan. So looking forward to seeing him. And Blue Lord's a class horse. He's a Grade 1 winner in the past when I won on him. And, he's tackling the top for the first time. So I'm interested to see how he gets on in it.
Do you think if you ran James de Burley and a claimer around Tremor, he'd get beat?
He probably would, yeah. The way he likes to be running at the moment, yeah. He used to frustrate me, Jane, when I used to ride him because I thought I gave him some beautiful rides last year when I was riding him and going to the last on many, many occasions. And I've changed my tactics around on him so many times. I thought I'd win and he still seemed to get himself beaten. And I mean, if you look at the top of last year, I'd say he was 100-1 on to win the race and he managed to still get beaten. I have no idea how he does it. But look, hopefully the fences will spark him, and I think Paul's going to ride him again. I can't remember. Yeah, I think Paul rides him on Friday. So I think Paul might be holding on to him a little bit more this year. But look, if you hold on to him, something seems to go by, and if you send him on, he seems to get collared. So I don't know what way to ride him.
I like the message that just popped up in the chat. I could listen to Jane all day and twice on a Sunday from Daryl.
I gave Daryl 50 quid before this started. So thank you very much.
Talking of horses that like to get beat and maybe a little wayward, what does everyone make of Mr. Incredible not being allowed to run in the Grand National? Who wants to take that?
Races, you have to. I mean, Donald and Paul and Jane know more about this. But whenever you enter horses now, don't they have to go through a panel through the BHA to Northern them whether they're satisfactory to run in the race or something. I'm sure there was some weird one of the horses last year, but Paul or Donald might be able to talk a little bit more about it.
They actually rang me about Manila Drama because he was entered. And I actually said, why are you ringing me? I said, he's jumped every big track in the country. They said, well, he's a doubtful stayer. I said, well, he might be, but he's qualified over 3 miles, as he was supposed to be. He was second up at Kelso last year. And I was a bit, well, I was a bit annoyed, should we say. And I think they knew I was a bit annoyed because he'd done everything he was supposed to do. I'm not going to say he was going to stay, and we're going to the 2.5 mile to the top because we kind of think that, but he was fully justified to have an entry and the option to go because he was qualified to go. He had done all the qualifications. A horse like the Sandy Thompson horse, that's a little bit different, isn't it? Because he's renowned for not wanting to go. He basically pulled himself up the other day and so on. So I think he's probably right in that occasion, yeah.
Does everyone agree?
Yeah, I think Donald's right. I mean, they've got the right to just question anything that's a bit, doubtful for any reason, whether it doesn't stay, doesn't jump, or not qualified. And Mr. Incredible has got a bad reputation for not starting. And Donald said he pulled himself up the other day. So you can see quite why they're saying that.
And
his form is UPPRP, and he actually could just not destroy the start, but he very nearly didn't start last year. So yeah, look, it's a difficult. They bought the horse to run in the race, but realistically, when you bought the horse, there was red flags everywhere.
Yeah, it's an interesting precedent, isn't it, to start, well, to take horses out, but I suppose with those habits.
But I think they take horses out and nobody hears about it. And Paul and Donald might have a better insight into this. Like, they definitely stopped horses running last year and nobody ever said.
On what basis?
Because their jumping record wasn't good enough, or deemed by them to not be good enough. So this is happening in the last couple of years, and just the connections of the horses just haven't said. It's only more high profile because Sandy Thompson said it publicly.
Probably to me more than Paul. Paul doesn't have to worry about these things as much. But yeah, I've had a couple of phone calls and so on. So they're on the case. I get it. I don't know. Maybe it means that because of the way it is now, it is just a handicap and horses get in on ratings, and that's possibly the difference to the way it used to be. And maybe that needs addressing. I don't know. Horses used to have to win races that season to be able to be entered.
And what's it like these days in terms of the pre-race checks? Has it been ramped up more and more, especially around the Grand National?
Yeah, it's pretty stringent. We have to send off all the medical records. We've already sent videos to the BHA vets of them trotting up and that sort of stuff. That's all the horses running over the big fences this week, and they'll be checked on the day as well.
Okay. I was just.
Can I have one more whinge before we start tying it all up? Who wants to run a Grade 1 after the biggest race of the day? Why is the Grade 1 the 2 mile run and after the Grand National? Like, nobody's going to. There's going to be such a flat atmosphere.
Yeah.
Well said.
Run the conditional riders race or something.
Yeah. Is that a new thing this year?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that also used to be the first race of the day. And then I think they always used to have the conditional jockeys race after the national. So
used to be a conditionals and amateurs novice chase, didn't it?
You could have the conditional jockeys race and then the bumper, but definitely not a Grade 1. But there we are.
Yeah, because they always seem to get lost by the post Grand National.
Yeah, of course they will. And then you imagine one of the jockeys would one of the jockeys just won the national want to go out and ride in a novice chase? There's commitments they'd have. So I don't know. Seems a strange one.
It does seem a strange one, but. A lot of Old Gold members will still be watching, still be tuned in, because come the last race of the last day, it is the bumper, and we have Swinging on the Steel running in that relatively big price. Go for Rebecca Menzies, but hopefully he can give a good account of himself in that. Jane, have you studied that race?
It's a big entry. His Vicer, I'm not that familiar with, Linda's lad, but any of the form I've seen from his best progeny, they tend to like slower ground, but you have quite a good bit of evidence to go on. He's won a point to point. He's already won on the track. If anything, your obvious experience will stand to you. And I think, why not roll the dice? This race, I don't know, some of these big field bumpers, they can go sedate and sprint. I think for you, you probably want an end-to-end gallop, and you could actually finish off really, really well. But look, this is an outstanding meeting. We didn't even mention John Bon, El Fabiola Protector at Hartwood. If anybody's interested in a handicapper on the Friday, I think Tony Martin has laid out Hamsian. He ran over 3 miles the last day at Musselburgh. He's by Lope de Vega. He wouldn't get 3 miles if he was given a ride in a horse box. So he's coming back in trip Hamsian for Tony Martin in that handicap. And I like Bad for Ben Pauling. I think Ben Pauling's kind of a big Aintree. I think he's a really good chance in the top one.
Which handicap is the Tony Martin horse in? The 2.5 of the boys' race?
The 2.5. He's a Pete Davis horse.
Right.
I think he'd love the ground as well.
I wish I'd known he was in my yard the other week because the box broke down on the way back from Musselburgh.
We haven't got long left, although we were a little bit late starting, so I think we're going to earn ourselves a few more minutes. Should we do some questions, everybody? I have been sent some of the best ones.
I have a question for Paul.
Oh, okay. This is meant to be from our viewers.
Did Nanny give you a little poke to the eye, Paul, the other night? Did she?
No, I've got what they call it, like a sty.
Have you?
Actually, I tell you what, the worst thing is standing down on the all-weather gallop at the moment, watch his horses cancel every morning. It's so dry, it's just like you nearly want a pair of goggles on watching.
I thought she gave you a poke the other night.
No such thing, Daryl.
Right, one for you, Daryl. What would you be doing if you weren't involved in racing?
I always wanted to be a rugby player. That was my first goal. That was my first dream. I wanted to be a professional rugby player. Unfortunately, they said I had trials for Leinster, and they told me I was going to be too small. So I managed to stumble my into horse racing.
Quite an extreme, different rugby player to jockey.
Yeah, that's why, like I said to you earlier on, that's why I fell into racing. I was quite late getting into racing, so I was, yeah.
Francesca, do you not want to know anything about the national runners then? Can do Kid and Co.
Well, that's a good point. Well,
that's what the whole point of this was.
Yeah, good point. Yes, we do. Run us through them, Paul.
Don't worry, Paul. Talking about it because Intense Raffles will win the race. We don't.
Yeah, well, there we are. Okay.
Good point. Thanks for reminding me.
Well, no, I just like to think that the 5 we've got in the horses are nice horses. Can do Kid, when he ran in the Topham last year, he finished 3rd, staying on very strongly. I said to Harry, 2 aims next season, the Coral Gold Cup of the Hennessy, and which he won, and then the National. So we've done one part of that. He had a nice run round Newbury the other day, scored well yesterday, looks great. I'm sure he's got a 20 to 1. He's in there with a chance. Brave Man's Game, he's a King George winner, class horse. Harry rode him missing more and thought he felt great. If he likes it, he's got a bit of class and enjoys it, especially better ground. It's not going to be too soft, even if they're watering. He could run okay. 300 through 5, was 4th in the Scottish National, stays all day, ran very well in his prep race where he asked it the other day with 12 stone. Hitman loves finishing 2nd in whatever race he runs in. We'll give Freddie Ginger his first ride and he'll love it. He jumps very well. Stamina is unknown because he hasn't been further than 3 miles, but I think he'll stay if he enjoys it. And Stairway Faye is, Grade 1 winner over hurdles. I always thought he'd be a national horse more so than a Gold Cup horse whenever he was novice chasing, but he needs a return to form. He did run much better at Cheltenham the other day. He's still coming back right. If he returned to form, he's the horse I always thought would be a real national horse, a real stayer. So hopefully 5 nice horses headed up by Can Do Kid.
Okay, I sense a good level of optimism there with your squad, Paul. And it kind of ties in with a question that we've been sent. Do trainers have a set pattern of races, or I suppose a training program for getting a horse ready for the national?
Well, I think the Coral Gold Cup was a real good trial for the national. It has been over the years. In Many Clouds is the last horse. I think he won the Hennessy or Coral Gold Cup and then won the national. So Can Do Kid fits into that program. He loves to be fresh. We haven't done much with him. And now, like Brave Man's Game, he's come down from a mark 167 to 155. It's given him a bit more of a chance, especially with better class horses in it. The weights are condensed a bit, and he's got a nice racing weight. They're all different. You're all prepared them differently. You go back to Neptune Clonge. he was a real out and out stone. He did loads and loads of work, so you had to do plenty with him. And he'd run in a Grand National trial before and just got beat. They're all different, but just prepare them as you think fit. And
we have had a question from an anonymous. Who is your best chance? Would you say it's Can Do Kid?
Well, Stable Jockey's on Can Do Kid. On his form and away, everything's gone. Been round there once before. I'd say Can Do Kid, yeah.
Okay. Is everyone happy with the shrinking of the field from 40 runners for safety reasons? Is that a positive move? Who wants to answer that one? Donald. That one.
Less number of horses, less chance of fallers, but that's just a numerical probability. I don't particularly. I think the lesser horses, the faster they go, the smaller the fences, the faster they'll go. I don't know, Donald. What's your perspective on that?
It's the widest race course in the country. It was never a problem. And when the fences were bigger, obviously they spread out more. Now I was talking to Derek O'Connor, because he's riding one for the Fox Hunters, about going down the inn, and I said, well, it never used to be a problem because nobody went down there, or very rarely. But now, because of the way it's changed, for the same where everyone's piling in down the inside, but it is the widest race course in the country. I don't understand how we can have 30 in a Fox Hunters, where the third fence is the chair, which is the narrowest fence on the track, and it has to be 34 in the Grand National when you've got that beautiful run all the way down over beaches. Nonsense. But did
they shorten the run-in from the start to the first fence?
A little, yeah.
Yeah.
So that they didn't get so much of a run up to it. But Daryl, when you are lining up there on the start line and you're facing that row of fences, what are you thinking? Where are you thinking? I want to be wide. I want to be in the middle. I want just clear air to the fence. I want to get cover. What are you thinking?
Look, it all depends on the horse, what your horse wants on the day. I mean, some horses love to be in the hustle and bustle of it, so therefore you'll ride them down the inside. Some horses like to be out wider. They like to have their own space. I mean, you always do over the first 3 or 4 fences. You always try to find your own little pocket and your own little space because, you don't want any mishaps. You don't want you don't want to fall in front of you, and you want to have a nice clear sighted view because, like I say, they are the different fences to what they normally jump. So that's the most important thing. But like I say, it's very different now. I mean, down over the first 3 or 4, yes, they do spread out. I don't agree. I think it's nonsense the way they've numbered, or they've reduced the numbers of the race. I think I think it should be the most competitive. You've got to take risks, and to win the Grand National, I think it's a risk and reward race. If you take risks, you might get rewarded and you might win the race. But nowadays, I feel like with the modification of the fences, me personally, I think it's the smaller the fences, the faster they go. The bigger the fences, the slower they go. Because I treat it like as if you're driving down a road and you meet a speed bump. If you meet a small speed bump, you're less likely to slow down. Whereas you meet a massive big speed bump on the road, you will slow down and you will have respect for it. So from that point of view, like Donald and Jane and Paul have said, the race has changed, but I think look at it at the end of the day, going back to what it all depends on the horse that you're riding.
Donald, who would you like to be training going into this year's race?
I think Gavin Cromwell's going to win it, but I don't know which one. Does that help?
Yes, he's got 3 in the top 10.
If I was going around, it'd be the nice one to go round on. Doesn't mean he's the best one. But
which one?
Stumpstown, is it?
What do you make of them putting blinkers back on him?
I'm not going to tell him what to do. That's entirely up to him. I'd say that's something you see a little bit more of in the modern day Grand National as well, I would say. But I think he holds a pretty strong hand.
Okay, and he's our current favourite. What else he's got? He's got Vanillier, who ran a great race in the cross country as well, after nearly going the wrong way.
JP's horse as well, that I can't pronounce.
Percival Legalba, yeah, he's a Paddy Power Chase winner. He's a great chance. It would be, Nicky Henderson is a great chance winning his first national. He's a novice. He's unexposed. Highland. Just going back, reference the changes to the Grand National. Nobody has ever given credit to the original course designers. All they've ever done was criticise how difficult and arduous and attritional the race was. But they actually never credited the course design. The camber at the back of Beecher's Brook was there to push riders out wide. That was a design feature, and they got rid of it not thinking actually we're getting rid of something that's actually helping us. Anyway, that was just a small observation.
What, to push them wide?
They did know what they were doing.
Okay, that's good info. To push them wide, to then turn, to then be in line for canal turn? No. What was it
They're
for?
all like cambers. If you look at the fences, they're at a slight angle to what you actually jump on the straight line to make them to come down and meet them at a different angle to spread the horses out. Aren't they, Jane? They're on a different angle. If you're looking straight, all the fences aren't meeting you dead level straight. They're all slightly angled, aren't they, Jane?
Yeah, well, you've ridden over it, and Paul, I'm not going to pretend that I know it better than you guys, but the drops at the back of the brooks were not the same as the inside to the outside, and nobody went down the inside of the major brooks because that was the steepest place to land. You would only go down there if you were wanting to fall, really. Now that the camber is gone, everybody goes down the inside, and we will have an incident where a horse in front will fall, and because the field is so tightly packed, we're going to have loads of horses brought down. That's just going to happen. But
the whole field used to move out, didn't it? The whole field used to move out.
Yeah.
When there's two big hedges down either side of Beech's Brook, and as soon as you jump the hedges, the whole field used to wheel out into the middle of the track to give themselves room to jump the big old drop on the landing side.
Great information. Ed, I think, are you still there?
I mean, we're meant to be on this to be enjoying the Grand National. All we've done for the last 40 minutes is slate the hell out of it. I love it.
Actually, yeah, someone just commented, would love Nikki to win. And that reminded me, we're always looking for a story. Maybe that's the story. How many runners has he had in it? A lot. And he's still never won it. Maybe it's his year. Ed, good to have you back.
The red wine will be flowing anyway, put it that way, if Nikki manages to win it.
You can start singing with Willie Mullins again or whatever that.
So you going to a ball, Ed?
So I'm going to a party. Yeah.
Paul, he does this every year, Paul. He does this every year. He's suited and booted to go for dinner for one. So he does.
He's
probably got his jeans on.
Listen, thank you very, very much, all of you. Thank you so much, Jane Mangan, for joining us. Thank you very much, Daryl Jacob. Thank you very much, Paul Nicholls. Thank you very much, Don McCain. Francesca, thank you very, very much. And do you know what you haven't mentioned once, and you were going to?
Other than Paul Nicholls' runners in the race?
Other than Paul Nicholls having loads of runners in the race, not running through them, was your own podcast. And
yes.
I'm going to give it a plug because it's really, really good. So when you're driving up to the National, go to your podcast provider and search for Running Loose, because it is genuinely very funny, and it's informative, and it's not sort of anorak racing, it's entertaining racing. I really do strongly recommend it.
More funny than informative. that's the focus. It's lightweight.
Yeah, it's really good. But anyway, listen, thank you very, very much for joining us, team. It was really great. You're all going. Francesca, are you going on Saturday?
I'm actually not. No, I'm going to have a great day of tele viewing. Grand National meeting followed by Dubai World Cup meeting. I can't wait.
Of course. Yeah, we should do a podcast for that one too. And also, thank you very, very much, JM Finn, as ever, for sponsoring us. And behind the scenes, Daisy Brown and Hannah Tufnell for really pulling all the strings together and putting everything together, and the team at All Gold Racing. So listen, everyone, the best of luck at Aintree. I will see you there if you're there. And hope to see you all on Saturday anyway, with Swinging on the Steel. Good night, everyone, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.